Squawk, squawk, squawk. Mata Hari is going to file her report.
Everything is ready, my darling. Do not be afraid. Soon we'll be together again.
This sandwich tastes as dry as hell.
Hello and welcome to Hello, This is the Doom Show. I'm Richard. Folks, I'm a witchy woman. See me talk to Simon.
Richard, do you know anything about cello?
Oh, folks, this is a very spectacular episode. Simon's here to talk to me about listening to footsteps in my hallways. Talk to me about girls with the names of snakes. But yeah, we're finally tackling Suspiria, folks. Woo!
Hey.
So, listener and friend of the show, Glenn Del Rossi, he messaged me a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, and was like, so I can't find you talking about the Three Mothers trilogy on the archive. Did you guys forget to do that? I said, yes, we did forget to do that. We've done a bunch of big Argento episodes. Brad and I did a Argento in the 90s, excuse me, Argento in the 90s episode. And you and I, of course, covered the most important of all of the Suspiria. We covered New Suspiria.
Oh shit, yeah, of course.
I find that hilarious that we covered that before this. And Jeffrey and I, years ago, one of the most weirdly popular episodes of the Doom Show on YouTube is Demon 6 De Profundis.
Yes, classic.
AKA The Black Cat. My favorite movie where Luigi Cosi said, "You're not going to finish that trilogy, are you? Here, let me do it for you, bruh." And then made a batshit crazy movie. And of course, Argento finally finished with Mother of Tears, which, hopefully coming soon. We'll get there when we get there. Jeffrey, of course, automatically swiped that one. That's mine.
Of course.
I want to do it. It's like, it's yours, buddy.
More power to
Anyway, so yes, thank you to Glenn Del Rossi for
thank you.
suggesting this. And yes, please check out his Instagram. He is a movie collector par excellence. His movie collection eclipses mine. And sorry, folks at home, it probably eclipses yours too. It's just sick. Got to check out his channel. It's great.
This is another weird sort
Instagram.
of synchronicity, what have you. This because I was listening to the you were talking about an episode you'd forgotten we recorded, and I was re-listening to I'd forgotten we recorded, which was Eaten Alive, which is another one of Glenn's.
Oh my God!
Again, thank you, Tim, for that.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot he requested that. Yeah, man, that's incredible. Simon was reminding me that once upon a time, we did an episode called Spasmo and House of Witchcraft, and I barely remembered us talking about Spasmo. Oh, here comes Cheese. I didn't say cheese, I said Spasmo. Cheese. Anyway, wrong cat, sorry. Yes, we named our cat Spasmo. Moving on. When we talked about House of Witchcraft, and I had no fucking memory of it, and the first time I watched it, I thought was the first time I ever saw it before. Very weird. It's almost like episode 183 was 100 episodes ago.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, we're gonna jump into this thing. A spoiler alert: if you haven't seen Suspiria by now, people, you're not doing it right.
Yep.
Watch frickin' Suspiria. I'm gonna drop the legendary trailer in right now, which is so funny, sounds so corny and beautiful. So here it goes.
Roses are red, violets are blue, but the iris is the flower that will mean the end of
You can run from Suspiria. Suspiria. But you cannot escape. Suspiria. The only thing more terrifying than the last 12 minutes of Suspiria are the first 92.
That's the trailer for the movie. No problem. So I'm going to read the plot from this VHS tape.
Oh, before you do that,
oh my God.
Before you read that, I've just prepared a little synopsis of my own.
Oh, please.
Totally not cribbed from TV Guide or anything. So
let's hear it.
Here it goes. Simon Banyan decided to perfect his podcast studies in the most famous school of podcasting in America. He chose the celebrated Academy of Tampa. One day, at 9 a.m, he left John Lennon Airport, Liverpool, and arrived in Florida at 10:40 p.m. local time.
That is the most creative thing that's ever happened on this show. That was amazing.
Thank you.
I love it. Brilliant. So yes, I found this beautiful EMI. I can't read that logo. What is that?
Is it like Thorn EMI or something?
Thank you. My eyes are great. Thorn EMI VHS tape. This is a beautiful VHS tape. I freaking love it. So it says Suspiria. On the front cover, it says, quote unquote, Psycho meets quote unquote The Exorcist with no holds barred, which means that Anthony Perkins is wrestling with Linda Blair in the ring. I fucking love that. Here's the plot on the back of the box. Psycho meets The Exorcist with no holds barred. A genuinely scary thriller with gaudy visuals and a screaming sound track. A pyrotechnic display for those who can take it. Thunderstorms, explicit murders, a room full of maggots. What is the horrifying secret of the ballet school? Suspiria has a gothic ghoulishness that makes other tales of terror look anemic. I'm going to go ahead and say that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, love it.
Not as good as yours. Not as good as your fairy tale intro.
Oh, thank you.
Love the fairy tale intro. We're going to talk about some of this cast to get us started here. We have Jessica Harper as Susie Banyan. She's our lead ballerina, who's an American, and she's just so naive, Simon. She doesn't know about the money-grubbing Europeans. Jessica Harper, of course, from, Phantom of the Paradise. And from Shock Treatment, the sequel to the Rocky Horror Picture Show, which people like myself, when they discover there's a sequel to the Rocky Horror Picture Show, blows their minds.
Yeah, still need to see that. I did think about nearly watching it recently, and I just got lost in the shuffle.
Oh, man, it's wacky stuff. Next up, we've got Stefania Cassini as Sarah. She is her pal at the school. I really like Stefania Cassini. Is she the one in Bloodstained Shadow?
She is, yeah.
Yeah, my vacation giallo. I haven't been on vacation a long time, so I haven't watched it. I love that film.
Me too.
Yeah, she's Sarah, the also ballerina.
She's in something else with Udo Kier, isn't she? She in, I get them mixed up. Is it Blood for Dracula? I think.
Yes, we get a Blood for Dracula. I almost said reunion here. Flavio Bucci as Daniel, the blind pianist. I love this guy. He's so good looking and weird looking. He also looks like Dario Argento in this movie, which is hilarious.
Really does, yeah.
I love when Dario picks an actor that looks just like him to stick in a movie.
Surprisingly, didn't cast Peter Bark.
This mommy smells of death, blah, blah, blah.
I was going to say, and I nearly messaged you this the other day because it's just been announced on 4K, but I thought it was a bit mean. But no, I'm sure it'll still tickle you. Yeah, I'm just going to throw it out there publicly because he's in Night Train Murders, and I'm still awaiting for a Christmas episode from you and Leetta covering it.
Oh.
Sorry.
Folks at home, if you don't know, if you ask Leetta the worst thing I ever showed her, she will tell you Night Train Murders. Worst thing I ever showed her. We watched that 20 years ago.
Wow.
And she's still mad about it.
So that'll be a no then on that said Christmas episode, I take it.
Oh man, that would be funny. I'd have to prank her or something, like a prank. I really like Flavio Bucci in this. His character is hilariously over the top. Another key character is Giuseppe Transoci. He plays Pav. God damn it. He plays fuck his name.
But it says Pavlo on IMDb, but I'm sure they all call him Pavlos or something.
That's why I'm getting confused.
Yeah,
so yes,
same, yeah.
In the movie, he's fuck his name. I hate his name. Pavlos.
Yeah.
Or Pavlo in IMDb. But yeah, this is a very distinct looking guy. This is the guy who, he got gingivitis, and instead of like flossing and brushing and using Listerine, he just ripped all of his teeth out. Hilariously, I have to rewatch this now because I cannot remember him at all. Apparently, he's in Werewolf in a Girl's Dormitory from 1961. I'm well overdue for a rewatch of that.
Yes, same.
Next up, we got Miguel Bose as Mark. He's the little, a romantic interest for Susie.
So dreamy.
So dreamy, so utterly ineffectual, it's almost not worth mentioning that he's in the movie.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if I've seen him in anything else from back in the day. And no, doesn't ring a bell. Next up, we have the amazing Barbara Magnolfi as Olga.
Mm-hmm.
Olga's a character. She's a force of nature. You got to deal with her. She hates names that start with S's. But dude, this lady, Barbara Magnolfi, has such a presence on not Instagram, on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
She is always posting stuff. She is so fun. She's still acting, still doing stuff. Very active lady, staying in touch with the fans. Always selling like autographed merch and stuff like that. Of course, other than Suspiria, she's in the insane sleazy giallo Sister of Ursula.
Yeah,
which is trashy.
The other one on here that's listed, I've still not seen either of these. Is it that and Suspicious Death of a Minor? So that's John Martino.
Totally forgot she's in that. Yeah, dude, that's Martino. I can't recommend that one enough. That's fun. That's a good one. She's also in Cut and Run. Excuse me.
Deodato, or is it Lindsay? I forget.
Yeah, it's Deodato. Yeah, Cut and Run. I was a little disappointed when I revisited. I saw that in the drive-in when I was like 8, and so I was very excited to revisit that. And it's okay. It's definitely got some, I guess, pacing. I don't know. Something's wrong with that movie. It's weird. Anyway, next up is Eva Axon. She plays Pat Hingle, our victim here. This is a Swedish actress, and most notably, she has a cameo in Tenebrae, and now I have to look out for her.
Right. Really?
I had no clue.
Jane's accomplice. Uncredited.
I'm like, Jane's accomplice. Okay.
Oh, is it at the airport? Who helps trash things luggage?
That's so funny. Now I can't unsee her. Good job.
Yeah,
my brain was like Jane's accomplice, whatever. But now I get it.
Yeah, I can remember the scene. I just can't visualize it.
Oh man, that's so funny. She's got the headscarf. She walks in. Yeah. She's real suspicious looking.
Yes. Now I see it. Yeah, but her character name makes me laugh every time I see this because of the guy who I think is best known as Commissioner Gordon in the Burton and Schumacher Batman films.
Pat Hingle. That's amazing. Yeah. We got Alita Vallee. She plays Miss Tanner. She of the big teeth variety. She's the instructor, the ballet instructor. She's also a force of nature. She's from the grand old days of Hollywood and just amazing films like Eyes Without a Face. She was also in Lisa and the Devil and the Eye in the Labyrinth.
Oh yeah, no, they forgot about that one.
Yeah.
And I see she plays, I've not seen in a long time, the classic, plays Anna Schmidt. As far as I know, cousin. In The Third Man.
Dude, I haven't seen that in frickin' years.
Same.
Years. Speaking of classic Hollywood, we got Joan Bennett classing up the joint. Got some interesting tales about her. She was quite a controversial figure as a young woman.
Another little Simonicity, synchronicity, what have you. She actually died on this date in 1990, aged 80.
Whoa.
Yeah.
We have an alibi, folks. We didn't do it. So yeah, just a few more people, I swear. These are all interesting to me. These frickin' people. This is great. We got Jacopo Mariani, who plays Albert, the little kid, the little what did I call him? I called him not Little Boy Blue. Oh, I called him Little Jack Horner. Little Jack Horner. He was the kid who was in Deep Red. He's in the inciting incident of Deep Red. He's the flashback kid. And he went to creepy kid acting school before this movie. He's great.
Absolutely.
Love it. Next up, we have a couple of amazing character actors here who love to work. As the taxi driver, we've got Fulvio Mingozzi.
If I remember right. Sorry, go on. I was going to say, when I did one of my most insane sort of movie-thons years ago, when I could still watch them more than like 2 films in a row, I watched all the Argento films aside from the 5 days, which I've still not watched.
Yes.
Despite having speaking of, we were talking before about films we've had too long and not watched. I can see from here that Severin 4K that's been out nearly 2 years. I will get to it eventually. But that aside, I watched all 8 of his films from between Bird with a Crystal Plumage up to Phenomena in one day, or maybe day and a bit. So it was like from first thing in the morning till like probably dawn pretty much. And I noticed, I think he's in every one of those films. It's like, it's been described as kind of a good luck charm.
That's so cool.
As you alluded to, many, many other movies. And I think he's actually got 2 roles in Phenomena. It says he's credited here as Mr. Sulzer, but I think he's the driver in that as well, but he's got like a moustache on or something.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, 126 roles over the years. Deep Red, Eyeball, Big Racket, good stuff. Next up, another person that I find amazing, Franca Scagnati. Wait, did I write that? Franco Scagnetti. Yeah. She is the cook in this movie. 166 roles for her.
Holy cow.
She had a lot of uncredited stuff. And then we have Renato Scarpa as Dr. Vertigast.
This blew my mind when I realized what else he was in.
This guy, 170 credits, amazing career. What else was he in?
Well, what really, like I say, blew my mind was realizing he was in Spectre. It says Inspector Longy in Don't Look Now, and I never clocked it. He's again a character actor.
Yep.
He
was also in a giallo that's a little weird called Il Mostro, which I think is overdue to get a nice copy. I don't know if that's still stuck in download bootleg land or not, but it's a good one.
Right.
Of course, man who needs no introduction, Udo Kier as Dr. Frank Mandel. I love this guy so much. He's at 280 freaking credits. Unreal career. Dude likes to work. And he's great in this.
He's uncredited.
Next up. So what's that?
Said he's uncredited in it. That's weird.
Yeah. He just has a cameo. There's a fun story about his one day of work I'll talk about later. We got Rudolf Schundler as Professor Milius, this guy was in The Exorcist. He played Reagan. He played the little girl who gets possessed. No. The cuckoo clock lets you know I wasn't serious there.
Oh, wait, what? Again, my mind has just been blown again.
What do you got?
Well, yeah, so was he the butler in The Exorcist?
I think so,
It seems, says Carl. Yeah, oh, wow.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
But yes, he's the professor of parapsychology that Susie's going to ask for some help, as is Dr. Frank Mandel, but he's a psychiatrist, so he's not as hip with the witches as he should be. So those are our main characters here. Like I said, we're going to go through this plot. We're going to try not to get too bogged down in the plot of this movie, because, folks, we're really hoping you've seen this thing. But spoilers, just in case. Spoiler warning, just in case. So the movie opens up with a little once upon a time. Our narrator, Dario Argento, is going to let us know that this is a fairy tale, and Susie Bannion is our star.
Susie Bannion decided to perfect her ballet studies in the most famous school of dance in Europe. She chose the celebrated Academy of Fribourg. One day at 9 in the morning, she left Kennedy Airport, New York, and arrived in Germany at 10:40 p.m. local time.
Yeah, I was going to ask you a question because I don't think I've ever actually watched the Italian version of this. I presume
yes,
sort of like with the end of opera, he does the narration over that.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is his voice.
Cool.
He's like, yo, dog, get ready. He says, buckle up, campers. So, Simon, one of the things about this movie that people say, I believe incorrectly, is that the only good parts are the first 15 minutes. The movie loses it after that. We will debate that when we get to the how do we feel about this movie. But, Simon, tell us about this freaking insane first 15 minutes of this movie.
I mean, yeah, in some ways you could argue it's a bit like, when you have an album that's like front loaded with like either the singles or the best tracks.
Yep.
It seems like it may be sort of, prematurely shot its load, so to speak. I mean, yeah, I get that, and that's kind of somewhat by design, because I think Argento said he wanted to start it the way a lot of films finish, which I'd say he sort of achieved. And yet
totally.
the ending, without getting too far ahead, is more, I think, in its own way, like equally bombastic, but like in a different way, in a more sort of traditional sort of horror movie way. Whereas this is more like kind of a slow creep of, I mean, you get it right from the start, obviously from the airport. And that's what I was going to ask you. I've heard it said by a few people that Dario Nicolodi's on one side of Jessica Harper in the airport, but I don't see it, to be honest.
No, I think that might be a rumor that somebody started or something.
Yeah,
I've never
it's just
seen
kind of stuck about. But really, I mean, the credits and just the insane build-up of the music and the screeching violins and the drums and everything, which is just, obviously saying, we're not fucking around here, people. And you have like the cymbal crash, whatever, into the first scene in the airport. But really, it sort of starts, doesn't it, from the first POV shot of Susie's, where we see her sort of looking towards, heading out of the airport, and somebody steps out and, nearly gets blown away by the fucking wind, and the goblin music sort of starts tinkling away. It's really from that moment, even before she goes through the doors, which this, it's like so many sinister close-ups of stuff in this. Whether it's like drains or lights or whatever, and we have the automatic doors. But even before she passes through them, and as a lot of people said, kind of through the looking glass, even before then, you can just, and you see it sort of on her face, which is just so expressive. She kind of senses like, whoa, did somebody just like slip something in my drink that I had, when I was on the plane? Maybe it's those like the cigarettes that in the girl that knew too much, that the lady picks up by accident. She's like imbibed one of those.
Yeah, the colors. I mean, the audience should have felt like this, because the colors are so exaggerated and so hyper neon, and just like it's, God, I can't even describe this properly. It's just like a complete blast of neon. Just a complete, like, just an earth-shaking event, the intro of this movie, just in terms of color alone.
And again, that's even before you get outside and into the taxi, where obviously it's like he pumps it up to 11 at that point.
Dude, so good. We get the unhelpful douche cabbie that we talked about. He's so funny. She sang the street, and then he's like, what? And she's like, shows him the words, and he's like, oh, that. And then he says it the way she said it, with a little more German to it.
Strasse, yeah.
Yeah, what a prick.
And I didn't realize, and I think maybe because I just thought like Esse, like E-double-S-E, but somebody on one of the, I think some of the extras on the sign-up release said, is it Escher Strasse? Like I'm going to say MC Hammer for a minute. MC.
Hey, say it proper.
Oh dear. MC Escher can't touch this because you're on the stairs that are on the ceiling or something. And you're trying to.
That's right.
I don't know. That's all I've got.
Yeah, we were talking about MC Hammer before we started, folks, because that's what Simon and I that's the only thing we really want to talk about. So yeah, she ends up at the gaudiest school that's ever existed, and she's getting out, and there's this rainstorm, and of all the characters seeing something or hearing something that they have to slowly work out in their memory in order to solve a mystery, this is probably my favorite of all of them.
Yeah.
It's just flash forward to the end when she finally remembers what the cop from Batman says. Fucking Pat Hingle. When she finally remembers like what Pat Hingle says, it's like a kick in the stomach, and a good like, oh, that's good. Like, yes, I love that.
It's a real I mean, we are getting ahead, but fuck it, why not? I mean, now it's bookend. Yeah. You kind of, I think it makes sense too, doesn't it? That is like a kind of a chef's kiss moment in it, where the penny drops and there's the little lightning flash, and she dramatically spins around to see the iris. It's just perfect.
Oh, I love it. I need it. She can't get into the school because her future friend won't let her in the fucking door. She's on the little intercom system like, go away.
Hello? Susie Banyan. I just got in from New York. Look, it's really raining hard. If you just let me in and I'll explain. Go wait. But you don't understand. Wait a minute.
And then, so she leaves. And as she's heading to a hotel, she sees our pal, Pat Hingle, running through the forest. Totally insane music here. Good old Goblin. We'll talk about Goblin. I fucking love Goblin. We'll get to that later. So we go to the gaudiest apartments that have ever existed. And this is where we have her hanging out with her roommate, or her friend, who also goes to the school. And then she gets attacked in the gaudiest apartment ever. And all I could think of is her waving that lamp, looking out the bathroom window, the glowing eyes. And you can say the phrase, "Get away from the window, you fucking dork," like 6 times before the arm comes through, and the Sasquatch arm. I love the Sasquatch arm. It's no black gloved killer, but you could also just be so hairy that you don't leave fingerprints. That's the thing.
That'll work.
Her murder is insane. The killer has that Michael Myers overkill from Rob Zombie's Halloween thing, where it stabs her and stabs her and stabs her. Gets interrupted by another task and starts to tie her up with some wire that's on the roof, and then goes back to stabbing her some more, and we get her beautiful chest cavity opened up. You can see her heart beating, and then the weird detail of when he stabs the heart, it has like a little whistle of like, not a sound, but you can see the blood. Oh man, it's freaking grotesque.
You see like steam coming out of it or something? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, this is great shit. She falls through the very gaudy plate glass window, and her pal, who the fuck is that? Sonia? I forget who her friend is.
I can't remember if she's named. Oh, I guess it must be. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah. So yeah, that's probably who that is. Sonia Susanna Javicoli.
Yeah.
I see the picture.
Yeah, it says first thing that jumped out says she was in Body Puzzle as well.
Ooh, no, that's a fun movie right there. I went through a safe sex binge. It was really stupid. One of my favorite lines from a giallo. So dumb. Classic. They both die beautifully. And then we cut to Miss Tanner's teeth introducing themselves to Susie. It's the next morning, and Susie's walking in. She meets Miss Tanner, and Miss Tanner is all of her dialogue is freaking just. It's not even said. Her dialogue is like, imagine trying to chew and spit at the same time. That's kind of how she talks. It's amazing. She meets Miss Blank, the directress, or excuse me, the co-directress. I don't know what her fucking job title is.
I love how she basically kind of looks Susie up and down, or kind of sizing her up or whatever, or checking her out. And, I'm sure the probably, no, I'm sure it is on purpose. In fact, I'm sure I've heard Argento talk about it, sort of, the kind of lesbian stuff going on in this, or like implied or whatever.
Interesting. Okay.
She does sort of make herself not look too creepy by saying, "Oh, well," maybe even more creepy. I don't know, by saying, "Oh, you're pretty, very pretty." But at least then, sort of makes it. It's like, yeah, you saw what I was doing there, sort of thing. But I suppose you could just take it more innocently of just being complimentary or whatever. But yeah, her looks in this, and we'll come to one soon. In fact, I may as well just mention it now after we have the sort of exposition catch up about Pat Hingle's murder, when Susie's sort of taken away up the stairs and exchanges a little flirty glance with Mark, who's watering the plants and going up the stairs. She basically interrupts while the Madame Blanc is talking to the police again, and he's very polite about it, excuse me, but my word, Madame Blanc looks so pissed off about it. It's fucking hilarious. It makes me laugh every time. I
love how boring the cops are. Like, the cops in this are such non-entities.
Yeah.
They're like, I think about the comedy police chief and his wannabe striker cops. They want to go on a sit-in.
Oh, yeah.
From Deep Red, and no, we don't. No personality for these cops.
No, that's it. And I think they're gone after this, aren't they?
Yep, that's it. Bye, coppers. Madame Blanc is apparently very attached to her nephew, little Jack Horner, bless his heart. So we get to meet the girls, and one of my favorite lines in this frickin' movie is the girl whose name I cannot frickin' remember. She creepily walks up, slinking along the wall, and goes, "Miss Tanner, I have something to tell you. Like, okay, Penelope, Lori, or whatever.
Oh, it's
Like Peter.
it's yeah. Oh yeah, she does. Yeah, I never made that connection. I wish she sounds like him. But I think it's Polly because Olga sort of pipes up, and this will call into something we are obviously have to mention shortly coming up. We all know that people with the names that start with the letter S are the names of snakes, but apparently people whose names start with the letter P are the names of parrots. So it's, Squawk Squawk, Polly Parrot. So
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Is that who she is talking about?
Yeah.
I've never connected that. So anyway.
No, I haven't until the other
So
night.
Susie goes into this stanky ass locker room with a bunch of dirty women.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just joking, folks. I'm sure they smell delicious. Mm-hmm. So she's in there with them. Olga pipes up as soon as the door closes. Squawk, squawk. Mata Hari has to deliver her report. And I've never realized that's who she was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
That Polly was a spy.
Yeah.
That is insane. Thank you, Simon.
Oh, no worries.
Making me understand that. And this is where Susie discovers that everyone in Europe is a money grubbing dick. They just want to extort her for money for like this apartment and then these shoes because she can't stay at the school, whatever. Oh my God, it's so funny. But then the amazing line is she makes friends with Sarah immediately, and Olga teases them because Sarah's trying to be nice because she's like, these guys suck. So we see Olga's apartment. It's the third gaudiest thing in this movie.
It is terrifying, kind of
oh my God
for her really, and now she's done her hair up into like she looks like a fucking cobra or something. I can't quite think.
Yeah, what in the world is going on with Olga's hair? I love that.
Is that actually,
her apartment?
Sorry to cut you off. I just realised meant to say it's kind of apt calling back to talking of snakes. And sorry, I'm to say I share this all the time, and there's a lot of stuff from this film I've got a lot of mileage out of over the years, as you will know.
Yes.
But the snakes, there's a gif of it I share every now and again because it makes me think every time I watch it, Susie, her reaction, her eyes darting back and forth, utterly flabbergasted, mystified, what have you, about what the fuck's going on here. That's basically how I feel reading most online arguments.
the sticking the tongue out battle.
Yeah,
perfect.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
Susie. Sarah. I once read that names which begin with the letter S are the names of snakes.
Yeah, so if you took a nap in Olga's apartment and you woke up, you would wake up hopelessly insane.
Yeah.
From the wallpaper alone.
It is so hideous.
Oh, it's so good. We find out that Mark is basically a slave to Madame Blanc and Miss Tanner because he doesn't have any money. But really, it's because his pants are too tight. I don't know. I didn't have a joke there. And this is when I say cut to the bullshit, get to the dancing.
Oh, just before that, I had something weird the other night. So as I told you, I was rewatching, and just for anybody out there who hasn't seen any of these, sort of doing the rounds on Twitter and what have you, there's been a lot of it's been going on for years. I think it started off with Star Wars because of Lucas sort of messing with his films, where you'll get like fan edits that are done off where fans have basically bought 35mm prints and scanned them and color time them and stuff themselves. I've sort of seen a few of these, and I've got sort of weirdly addicted now to trying to find as many as I can of favorite films and watch them. So there's there's one out for The Shining I watched recently. Most probably importantly of all, there's a 4K scan of one for Inferno. I say that because that film is kind of conspicuous by its absence on the format at this point, because pretty much every Argento film, like I said, including The 5 Days, is out on it now of sort of purple patch up to opera, I guess, and Suspiria. So I rewatched that while I was taking notes for this, and I don't know whether it was I guess it's the optical audio track or whatever off the print, but I never noticed this before, so I was watching on headphones, and whether there was some audio fuck up or eccentricity with this version. But while she's talking to Mark and Olga's on the phone, I swear I could hear somebody crying or something. It was really weird, and I'd never noticed it before, so I don't know what the fuck
Was it coming from the phone?
Yeah, that's what I thought while she's talking to the phone.
Because that makes it even funnier. Because Olga's like basically not listening to whoever the fuck is there.
Yeah.
She's distracted by Susie and by Mark, and so she's just not even listening. That's hilarious. That even adds more comedy to her shitty ass attitude.
Totally, yeah.
Simon, we need to cut the bullshit and get to the dancing. Oh my god.
Yeah.
We finally get to see the male dancers and their tight buns parading around. We get to see some actors who definitely are not ballet dancers pretending to dance. It's cute. Piano player, our pal Daniel, rocking away on the keys, which is funny because later when he's performing, he's got a whole orchestra behind him, which is very interesting.
Has he got like a little record player with him or something, presumably?
I don't see it, but yes.
No, I couldn't see it either. I did look, and yeah.
So Susie's going to the dance room to go do some dancing, and she gets freaking cursed by the cook and our little Jack Horner.
And what is the cook polishing there?
It's some kind of sharp metal decorative piece. I don't think it's supposed to be a knife.
No.
But it looks like it would be pretty nasty if you like got stabbed with it.
Definitely.
But we get this standout moment in the film where she gets cursed, and the light catches the end of this thing, and you have this bright light, and the light is so intense that you can see all the dust in the air.
It's perfect.
It's just absolutely brilliant.
I love the when that light hits, the little detail as well. It's almost so subtle you can miss it, especially with that blinding light that Albert smiles until the lights
Albert's
again.
Creepy smile. Thank you for mentioning that. Oh my god. Love it so much. So much. I can't even. Like that, people are like, oh, this movie's not that great after the first 15 minutes. Wrong.
Yeah, it's bollocks, isn't it?
Wrong.
I mean, they're talking it, not the film, even.
What? Say it again?
Said it's bollocks, said that, but they're talking it, not the film.
Yes, exactly. Mine are still dropping. She starts feeling sick. Miss Tanner's not understanding at all. These are ballerinas, aren't they all like this? Like they're all anemic and falling over and hungry.
Yeah.
Give them a freaking sandwich.
Little details, because it's funny, isn't it, when you sit and take notes, even for a film that you've seen like probably hundreds of times, because you're really kind of putting it under the microscope, sort of consciously, that things jump out you haven't seen. And I swear, when she's passed out, her eyelids are flickering slightly, which comes to there's a thing that sort of runs through a lot of this that I really like, kind of almost like thematically makes me think of like Nightmare on Elm Street as well. This whole importance of like staying awake, basically, and not falling into this sort of druggy sort of haze or dream or whatever, and remaining conscious, I suppose. But at that point, she's fallen under it, and it's like she's instantly dropped into like REM sleep or something. Which I suppose
that's awesome.
Like,
I like that.
How dreamlike the whole film is as well.
I love that.
Okay.
We cut to her in her bedroom in this school getting freaking almost waterboarded by the people. Under the doctor's order, she's supposed to be drinking blood to restore her corpuscles or whatever. Whatever. There's so much medical tomfoolery here, pseudoscientific jargon that's so dumb. As Dr. Vertigas is giving his freaking advice. But then Susie makes like a recovery super fast. They move her freaking stuff to the school without even asking her. So she's now, she's losing her agency here. She's completely at the whim of this damn school.
So I just realized while you were saying that I was kind of waterboarding myself almost, because I realized I was going to be dehydrated. So it's just downing part of this bottle of not mineral water anymore. It's now tap water, but that's kind of weird timing.
Very nice. She makes an immediate recovery. She has to eat the chicken. She's supposed to have a special diet, so she's not going to go down to supper with everybody else. While Sarah's talking to her, a bell goes off, and we find out that it's 15 minutes until supper, or 0 minutes until maggots. So maggots start pouring through the ceiling. It is hilariously disgusting. Fulci would, of course, up the ante with his actors.
Oh boy!
By just blasting maggots into their face, because he's a fucking sadist in City of the Living Dead, aka Gates of Hell, bless his heart. But we get the crunch of the maggots on the floor as they find out it was a bunch of spoiled food. Which I gotta ask Simon, does this help the witches in some way? Does this Or is this just like a hilarious thing where witches don't know how to fucking put food in a fridge?
I mean, it's weird. For one thing, we wanted to put it in the attic where, like, sort of heat rises, or are they storing bodies up there? And they're just, this is like a sort of pretense to sort of say, oh, it was the food. But it does look like it probably was food. But I wonder again if it's some kind of contrivance to get them all in this room and then to get Susie into close contact with Helena and Marcus. For what reason, I don't know. Maybe to sort of some psychic link thing to try and increase influence over. I really don't know.
That's exactly what I'm thinking, that maybe just being around the girls, and she's able to like drain their life force or something like that.
Yeah,
kind of like me with my cats, because I hold my cats and I'm like, their life force goes in my face. You know, that stuff. After they spend the night in one another beautifully shot scene of this whole conspiracy. Sarah is very conspiracy minded about the directress isn't supposed to be here, but like one time she was here and they're like, whoa, she was there and she was snoring. And I was like, dude, that's like the same exact snore, bro. That's a young Keanu Reeves as Sarah. Whoa.
So it's,
the next day.
Before that, this is a point I've got in my notes that I will maybe talk about. And was alluded to already, me getting mileage out of this film, particularly for making memes. Yes. People say it right now, it is probably, and there's many reasons this film's close to my heart without getting too much yet. But the amount of mileage and joy I've got out of making memes out of over the years, it's just, I realise it makes me certifiable at this point. And I did one yesterday, I think it's my latest, inspired by this scene in the later one, where I've got, Susie, do you know anything about ASMR? It's very whispery, this bit, isn't it?
It is. I love
getting the tingles listening to it.
Yes, we're going to talk about your controversial memes when we get to the end of our wrap up here. Simon's been poking the bear,
say the least.
So the next day, during dance, Miss Tanner comes frickin' barging in. What is her problem, Simon?
And again, you wonder if this is some sort of contrivance. We see the next day, we see the cook and God, I forgot his name, the little boy. Albert, thank you. Prince Albert. Oh no.
Let him out of the can.
Oh no, just the connotations of Prince Albert as well. I
know. I try to take it to a clean place.
Let's just draw a discreet veil over that. So the cook is leading him past Daniel's dog. And we don't see what happens, but we just hear some barking, or maybe the dog has just got spooked because, a little creep and has bit him. Or this is done on purpose I think it's probably just an accident. And then obviously Miss Tanner loses her shit, literally goes marching literally into the yellow room, and interrupts Daniel and the London Philharmonic or whoever he's got behind the walls supporting him. And basically, slams her hand on the piano and lets everybody know what's happened. And this whole showdown is just fucking amazing. Just them like practically, screaming at each other.
If you wanted to like criticize this movie for being like ridiculous, this whole conversation it is evidence of, yes, this movie's fucking insane.
Yeah.
How much of this is supposed to be this crazy, or is this like Argento just bigger? Go bigger, go bigger.
Yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, I'd imagine, especially we've got actors like this to play with who can certainly do it.
Sure.
He's never hurt anyone. The boy must have done something to him first.
Oh, the poor little animal, the poor little puppy. If I ever see him within a mile of this school again, I'll have him put to death.
Stop it!
So, yes, that night, Sarah is very concerned still with the teacher's living arrangements. This comes into play later with the, where the teacher's going at night. Of course, Susie we know that she's getting slipped a Mickey with her dinner and disgusting wine she has to drink. I am not a wine drinker.
Me neither.
And then later when she dumps this wine down the sink, I have to ask Leetta if that's normal, and Leetta assures me that is not, but we'll get to that. So we go to the German Biergarten, get some traditional German slapping dancing with some nice lederhosen. Now, this is Argento's weird thing with referencing Nazi stuff. So this is a famous Biergarten, one where Hitler had a very historic thing here. So he was intent on filming because, they're in Munich, and I'm assuming that's, this is the same beer garden from there, based on what Argento says. It's just creepy. Yeah, but Daniel's having a pint or two.
I love when he's sort of escorted out as well by the lady, who I'm sure has been asked to, but for some reason, every time I watch it, I just get this vibe of like, she's like, yeah, you've been in here long enough now. It's time to move things up. It's time for you to die. See you later.
She's another witch. She's a witch, Simon.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, she's a plant they've got in there. She's probably slipping him some drinks as well. But I was trying to see what this square was on the locations. Oh, it could be this. Yeah, I guess from the name Königsplatz, Max Vorstadt, Munich, Bavaria, Germany. That sounds like it could be.
And that's another key location to the World War II, to the rise of the Reich there. Wonderful. Mm-hmm. So he goes outside at night, and he's trying to go home, and he gets beset by some invisible witches flying around, some shadowy figures zipping around.
Oh, yeah.
And then he learns a valuable lesson is stop feeding your dogs throats. If you buy dog food that has like throats in it, they're going to get a taste for throats. And then they're going to eat your throat in a very inopportune moment.
Attack, Dickie, attack.
Yes. Thank you for that. That is amazing. I appreciate you bringing that up. I love this dog. It's like he's sitting there chewing on his master's throat, and these two policemen come running, and the dog's like, okay, I know I'm in trouble. I got to get out of here. The dog fucking bails. So Susie goes to talk to Madame Blanc, and the stupid ass blue iris is right there. Susie, you idiot, just look to your left a little bit. More importantly, though, we got a swimming pool scene. Yes. Swimming pool at night. This is Sarah telling Susie all about Pat Hingle's report on the witches. And like, I'll give it to you tonight. It's going to be great. No one's watching us swim, I swear to God. I love how creepy this scene is. It's so good.
Some amazing poolside fashions, by the way, aren't there?
Yes. Very conservative bathing swimwear.
Probably
here.
The strangest bikini I've ever seen. It's just fucking weird.
It's like another childlike thing.
Yeah.
One of the things we'll talk about when we start to go through the trivia here is Argento's initial desire to make this a film with young kids away from school, but being told by the producers yeah, that's going to be expensive, and labor laws and Italian. He said, labor laws? I don't think so. Sorry. That's a generalization about the Italian film industry and not about Italian people. Thank you very much. Bow, bow, bow. So that night, again, Susie's passing out from her delicious food, and Sarah's trying to tell her about everything that's going on, and that her freaking notes have disappeared. Pat Hingle's awesome scribblings have disappeared. And she asks the greatest question of all time, Susie, do you know anything about Mark's tight pants?
You know anything about techno?
Now, this is the full color spectrum here. This is them showing off all of the intense work that went into the color design of this movie. Yep. We have the white walls that are now turning green and red, and then you have the light from the other room, which is a bluish hue kind of, and all this it's just this phantasmagorical moment where Sarah realizes she is fucked, and she leaves Susie passed out in her bed and runs away just as the door opens from her room coming in to Susie's room. The creepiest scene in the movie for me,
definitely, yeah,
is this unseen person walking through the room, and just walking right past Susie while she's asleep to go after Sarah. I love it. Now, Simon, I have a question for you, because I wrote down in my notes. So we see a figure walking down the hallway going after Sarah.
Yeah,
and I wrote in my notes, "Oh, it's Frankenfurter." So. It looks like if Frankenfurter had straight hair and had the collar popped on a cape.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very, very beautiful look here. Who the fuck is that supposed to be?
I'm guessing from his hair, it's got to be Argento.
No, I mean like in the movie.
Oh, in the movie. Sorry, beg your pardon.
Yeah, that could have been Argento though. That's a good call.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's sort of his MO, wasn't it, to do all the sort of the glove scenes and the murder scenes, so it would fit, wouldn't it? I really don't know. I guess just some like because he comes out of, I don't know whether he goes past the curtain, but he's in that the bit towards the end where they've got all the various bits in Latin and stuff written on the walls, sort of behind the blue iris thing. He's walking out from under that corridor. So whether he's just some like assassin that they've got living down there for like where they need to dispatch somebody on the ground rather than sending, as they did. That was a bit before Daniel's demise, and I love how they've like sort of unleashed something, and there's a POV creeping through the school, and then like the window opens, and it sort of just goes out into the night, and we never figure what it is, and can guess it's, I don't know, just some kind of amorphous like disembodied witchy magic or something, which as somebody said, it is almost like witches flying across the facade of that building, isn't it? But so I'm kind of rewinding a bit now, but so I don't know. Like I say, I think it's just their on ground assassin who lives there with Pavlos or whatever.
It's crazy.
Bunks with the butler. I don't know.
Bunks with the butler.
Sounds like a euphemism.
So we get Susie's incredible death scene. She has this long, protracted being chased around and gets into some crazy shenanigans. The thing that Blu-ray did for me is I had literally never seen the figure in black hiding with the straight razor.
Yeah, you see the eyes poking out some, don't you? Which was
never
something I could not actually make out on the 35mm print.
Right.
Unfortunately, that was kind of lost. Yeah. But it is quite sort of... Still looks great, but it's been around a long time. But obviously on the maybe on the DVDs, I don't know. Oh no, you've seen the Blu-ray, sorry. And especially now with the 4K restoration, you can see all that. It's kind of like this is a year before Halloween, isn't it? Kind of like a Michael Myers sort of moment.
It's almost like a throwback to like a crimmy,
right?
Like a killer in a crimmy pulling that get up to hide, but it's also like in deep red where the killer's hiding in the closet there too. And all you see is the eyeball open up. So it's just, it's just incredible.
Absolutely.
So she gets chased into a room, an empty room, and she's locked in there, and the killer's using the straight razor trying to pick the lock, which I love. Very, very tense. Of course, the straight razor looks more like something you put spackle on for like patching a wall.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It doesn't look like a straight razor. It looks silly.
Some pins in there as well, aren't there, I think?
Yep.
In the case.
Yep, very unusual. Yeah. And then she falls into the slinky room. It's supposed to be razor wire. And I just wrote in my notes, what a pain in the neck.
Yeah.
Pun intended. But I can't imagine filming this scene. I have a very funny, this can't be true. This cannot be true. Little quote from Argento we'll talk about later about that scene. After Sarah is killed, and disappeared, all of her stuff is gone and everything, Susie calls a pal that she'd spoken of. Is it time to take a break?
Here's to good friends. Tonight is kind of special.
Hey, where you been? Well, it wasn't easy getting tickets for this game.
Here, Bob. Teddy, I know exactly what I want. I want the biggest steak you got and a bottle of Lowenbrow.
Steak and Lowenbrow. Dolan, you're a genius.
When you want the taste of a truly great beer, tonight, let it be Lowenbrow.
Here's to the chef.
Here's to the bartender.
Okay, so Susie calls up Udo Kier to talk because Sarah that was her pal, who was an expert in these supernatural things. Simon, where does Susie meet up with this bro?
So it's at a convention center, which I think is on psychology and psychiatry or something. But I'm convinced that it's also a convention on the occult and on exposition as well. Apparently, given that we get a literal tag team of it with a sort of, I'm surprised you don't slap each other on the on the hand or whatever they do in WWE when they're like, so Udo Kier's like, yeah, I've got to go now, catch a train to do my next movie. That's all they got me for. You finish it, bro.
We do get a pile driver of exposition.
Love it. So this is at one of the locations I do remember. I think it's called the BMW building. I don't know whether it still is. And this is again in Munich, which is very striking. And I love this whole scene. I don't know whether I did from the start because it's kind of an outlier in the rest of the film in how, for one thing, it's daytime, but it's completely weird how it's shot. Like, you know, the low angle shots, particularly when she's talking to Udo. Where it's just them against the sky and you see the wind whipping the hair. And you just get this sense, you know, again, that as we've seen, you know, literally earlier in the film, that, you know, there are kind of bad spirits sort of abroad or whatever, you know, waiting to sort of cause havoc.
This is like the proto-Tenebrae scene.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, nice.
And
there's the use of the word occult.
Yeah.
And the old dubbers back in the 70s called it the occult. Occult. The occult sciences. I love that.
But like, what do they call it? He was a sadist.
Yeah. Wow, what a cruel son of a bitch. He's a sadist. No. He's just sad.
There's I'd never noticed this before until it's pointed out in one of the commentaries, because we get, well, maybe 3 Argento commentaries in this if we're to assume that the assassin we mentioned is him. There's one I would have never noticed if somebody hadn't pointed out, you know, in the taxi scene at the beginning. You can see, we're guessing it's probably Dario's reflection. It's like the bottom half of his jaw. As they described it, looking like a jack-o'-lantern. And I would have never noticed that. But one that I have, less so now because it's been dialed down a bit for the 4K, maybe re-timed or whatever, and contrasted, brightness adjusted. But when I love the shot when say the tag team slap has happened and now we've got Professor Milius talking. Intrigued by his book, by the way, this title, what is it, Paranoia or Magic, the last word on the subject apparently. But I love the shot that sort of pushes into the reflection behind them, and you can see, I'm guessing it's Dario on the left, sort of looking back and forth, checking things. But how it's sort of, again, speaking of passing through the looking glass, sort of focuses on the reflections, which are kind of a bit blurred and refracted. So it's something, you know, like all this film, even though it's daytime now, that, you know, like he said himself, I'm going to paraphrase or what have you, so I can't remember the exact quote, but like he says, literally magic is everywhere.
Yeah, it's so good. It's a weird breather before the roller coaster of the rest of the movie happens. The most important scene in the film, fuck the blue irises, fuck the frickin' body hanging from the roof, fuck all the shit exploding. Susie, back at the frickin' school by herself. The witches have conspired so that she's alone in there. They went off to see an opera or see a ballet performance and left her behind conveniently. The most important moment is when she decides to dump the food that she's been eating that's been making her sick down the toilet. Simon, when that chicken breast hits that toilet, I fucking laugh so hard every time because poo-poo.
Well, yeah, she's lucky she's not sat down, because she'd be getting this bit of slang I learned before with you and not about she'd get a Poseidon's kiss.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, it's in, there's a magazine over here, it's called Vit. It's like a really rude comic, and they had something called the Profanosaurus, where it was literally just a dictionary of really rude slang, and that has always stuck with me.
So yeah, she throws that chicken in the toilet, and I lose my mind. And then she pours the soup, and it's disgusting down. But then she pours the wine down the sink, and it's clearly paint. And it's clearly or something. Some kind of bad shit is in that wine, because Lietta, who's an expert wine drinker, is like, that ain't right.
Yeah.
It shouldn't stain your hands and the sink quite that badly.
Set.
And then we get the glowy eyes. So we've had glowy eyes in the movie before. But this time it's Lucio Fulci's bat making a cameo. This thing must be related to a cat, because it has 2 lives at least. Because it comes back and hilariously comes back as the frickin' hair-covered turd with wings in, speaking of poop, in House by the Cemetery. This bat is so funny. Like, I don't know what it is with Italian horror and their bats. Everybody had fake-ass bats. Bava, fake-ass bat. Ricardo Freda, fake ass bat, freaking Fulci. Oh my god, I love it. Anyway, she kills this poor bat just for trying to kill her, and it's so cute. It gets upside down on the floor and is trying to fly up, but it doesn't realize it's upside down. I think bats are smarter than that, and so it's flapping and coming towards her upside down, and she kills it. But then she needs to do a little something special, Simon. She needs to take some Anton time.
I was going to say, is she 420 blazing it? Because it looks like it's either that or a really loose roll-up, and how she's smoking it as well. You know, not the roach clip stuff.
So, yeah. Folks, if you haven't heard our Idle Hands episode, please give that one a listen. You can hear one of my favorite slang for marijuana ever, which is single individual doobie. I say that all the time because I'm an idiot. And yeah, she's smoking a cigarette because, you know, her pal Sarah had a nice lighter for her cigarette. So it is probably supposed to be a cigarette, but as Simon said, very loosely rolled. You know, could be a lot of dank cushion there. I don't know. Bless her heart. And this starts the roller coaster because she finds a little note that Sarah left for her with the potential directions and number of steps in order to find where the witches are hiding. So she goes on a little walk through the school.
Because say when she's leaving, you know, just because as we've been going through, just the intensity of the lighting's just ramping up and up. And at this point, I don't know whether you had it sort of earlier when it was sort of starting, you know, when she was being drugged. The first scene where Sarah sat on a bed, and it's kind of like the drugged wine. It's sort of like bleeding out into, even though we're watching both of them, it's almost like Susie's POV of like that drugged wine is sort of starting to sort of paint the wall behind them. And now at this point, it's gone so like the blues and the contrast between that and how hellishly intense the red is before she steps out into that hallway. Now it's like fucking diabolical.
Yes. The directions lead her back to Madame Blanc's office. And of course, this is where she has the flash of lightning, a literal flash of memory and lightning, where she remembers that Pat Hingle said, "The Joker's doing something and stealing money."
Do you think that flash is like Pat Hingle? She's come back from the dead and she's flashed in a bat signal somehow through a window we've not seen in that room.
Yeah, that's what it is. So yeah, she remembers and she finally turns the frickin' iris.
The secret! I saw behind the door! 3 irises! There's a blue one!
So Simon, give me the details on this frickin' finale of this movie, because we can't stop now.
Oh no, it's kind of apt. I'd made the colour connection, but when she's turned the blue iris, which again sounds a bit rude, could just be me. Then the first thing we see is some blue velvet curtains, and it is literally like looking at the opening credits of Blue Velvet.
Yes.
I'm sure. In fact, I know somebody's done a screenshot comparison, because it just begs for it, really.
Oh yes.
So yeah, she's sort of creeping under here, and now we've seen there's all sorts of colours in this, some that are more common than others, and there's a lot of gold in it as well. I just sort of joked recently about it, not just being a giallo, which we'll come to that when we come to that. Without trying to open too big a can of worms there. But it also being a Christmas movie. Now, I've only sort of been sort of half facetious when I said this, because I think the Synapse aside, there was another restoration done a while back, although I only got the Blu-ray of it in Europe, and there was a bit of controversy about it, and I can kind of see why. About they called it like green Suspiria because it had a bit of a green tin, and
I forgot about that.
It was interesting though to sort of compare, and I was watching the restoration stuff on it, but it seemed like they almost took a more naturalistic approach to it, and they were using all these photos of the locations at the time and trying to match it. And I thought, well, this is not kind of like missing the point, especially because how they with that I know it wasn't shot Technicolor, but with the dye transfer thing where they were literally manipulating all the individual colors. So at any rate, without getting into all that, Synapse, they seem to have nailed it. But anyway, point was that came out and I watched it one Christmas, I think around New Year's Eve. And I got in a habit for a few years of watching Suspiria around Christmas because, as I said, it made me think a bit of like if you'd fallen inside your Christmas tree really drunk or like even more intoxicated, and all the lights are sort of pumped right up or something. So it just seems to fit. And there's lots of reds, obviously, lots of greens, lots of golds here. So bringing us back to what we were actually talking about. After that long tangential matron. So yeah, she's sort of like creeping down this corridor, and there's also, I don't think it's just Latin, but there's all sorts of occulty sort of words blazing down there into the, before she gets to the inner sanctum, and she sees some curtains with like, I think like little cherubim or whatever on them, probably more words. It sort of creeps behind them. She's like, yeah, I'm getting a bit close here, before starts hearing Madame Blanc getting pissed off about her that the what do you call it, titular or whatever, bitch of an American girl that she is.
Yes. Yeah, she starts cursing her with sickness. She must die, and Sarah's like feeling the curse. Susie's like feeling the curse like hitting her, and it's like, then they send Pavlos out to get her, and she finds a room filled with the bird with the disco plumage. Get a nice little statue there with a very gaudy peacock there. And we get who I call Hell of a Marcos. So Helena Marcos, she's sleeping in the bed, and Susie knocks over this bird and a bunch of giant stone balls that roll across the floor and bang into the bed and wake up Helena Marcos, who's very smug, very, very got an attitude about her.
Definitely.
She's kind of stuck up. Yep, she's getting stuck in the throat. Helena Marcos is like, you were coming here to kill me, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, you didn't really do a good job stopping me, dumbass. Oh, yeah, this is after she discovers Sarah's body. Sarah is all done up in some weird, like the patterns, the way she's been cut look very interesting. And then she's got these nails driven into her eyes. And she is dead.
She got some in her wrists as well, but they're like big, obviously.
Yeah,
enormous almost. And I wonder what this is about. Is it this another means of them trying to control her and sort of bring her back?
Yeah, it's some kind of ritual to make her body controllable. Because of course, Helena Marcos brings her back to kill Susie for her, and with a great shot of the door opening and just Sarah's hand coming around.
There's like growling on the soundtrack as well.
Yeah, there's a dog growling on the soundtrack or something like that. It's very reminiscent of the doll scene in Deep Red. The doll, that's more of a surprise.
Totally.
But when Sarah kicks the door open finally, it's just like, oh shit, like, oh man, we're going here. That's when that is when Susie notices that every time the lightning flashes, she can actually see this invisible witch in her bed. And she's, of course, armed with one of the plumages of the crystal bird. And as soon as the lightning flashes long enough to see the silhouette, she stabs her and get a nice, gnarly-looking old weotch, which that's a reference to Lietta's favorite, The Covenant, where he says in the movie, I'll make you my weotch.
How about I make you my weotch?
So yes, Helena Marcos is dead. Shit starts blowing up, literally, all kinds of knickknacks and stuff. Furniture starts flying everywhere. Susie goes back out through the very elaborate witchy hallway, and she sees all of the witch coven is now bleeding from all over the place. She leaves the school because it's catching on fire. It explodes. And she's smiling in the rain, one of the greatest shots in all of horror movie history. Yeah. Her relief. She's almost laughing. She can't believe she survived this fucking ordeal. And then what does the title crawl say, Simon? What is the most important thing that it says?
Oh, iconic moment after iconic moment. It says, of course, you have been watching a giallo in quotation marks. Sorry, had to do it.
Oh my god. So yes, it says you have been watching Suspiria, but Simon made a little meme that said you have been watching a giallo.
It's one of my favorites I've ever done, if I don't say so myself.
Oh my God, it makes me laugh.
Thank you. I hadn't thought till now. I don't know. I can't think of any other films I've seen this in, but they did it a lot. I think in sitcoms. Like one that's jumping to mind weirdly, because there's some weird overlap with this with the Nazi stuff. I'm sure at the end of Allo Allo, probably other stuff, and You're Keeping Up Appearances. It says it.
Sure, you've been watching Allo Allo, yeah.
But yeah, like you said, just this ending. I mean, I have a few favorite endings in favorite horror films, but this is just up there for it's just so fucking satisfying from when everything's already exploded, and my God, poor Jessica, like running through this like health and safety nightmare of everything.
Yes.
And I've never seen any, despite looking how they sort of rigged all of this, with cables or wires, whether it's making things explode or like pulling chairs or ripping parts of the wallpaper off and trees through windows, you name it. But yeah, it's almost like she's kind of supernaturally aided at this point as well, like with the doors sort of blowing out. It's not quite, without getting into potential spoilers for anybody who's not seen Suspiria, but how that goes of, and the revelation of what's happened there. But it is almost like you kind of know, I don't want to be too explicit here, that kind of shift of power or something has happened now. Or she's, there's some good witch looking after her and helping get her out there. And
I like that.
Yeah, no, I'd literally only just thought about it now, thanks. Yeah, so she gets outside, and as I think I've said before, not quite a meme, but a little joke, whatever I've shared a few times, I'm convinced this is the best, most ideal way to wash your hair is after defeating a coven of witches. And setting the building alight is to go out into the pissing rain and just have it, there
you go,
wash your luscious locks. And yeah, so she sort of walks off, like say, laughing, smiling. But yeah, the moment where the you have been watching Suspiria card comes up, the window explodes, and the goblin. It's not just the goblin theme, but that probably my favorite moment of it, where it kind of goes to a bridge or something, and there's like a drum roll, and the bass really kicks in. It's just so fucking satisfying, and again, like a total chef's kiss moment to just top the movie.
Oh my God, totally agree with you there. So some crew, some very important crew members here. We'll talk about this a little bit. Of course, Dario Argento directed this thing. Controversially, he wrote this with, let's see, what does it say here? So it's him and Dario Nicolodi, his partner at the time, the wonderful Dario Nicolodi. And they credit Thomas De Quincey, who wrote was he the Confessions of an Opium Eater guy?
Yeah, he is, and I think I have it somewhere. Because a friend of mine who studied English literature, he gave his copy to me, and I've tried reading. I think I've read the bit specifically on the Three Mothers years ago, which is I think it's a sequel to the Confessions called Suspiria de Profundis, and there's a bit in it called, I think it's Lavana and Our Ladies of Sorrow, where they talk, these really amazing sort of poetic descriptions of the Three Mothers, which are all just like, I guess these are more like opium fever dreams or something.
Right. Mater Suspiria, Mater Tenebrarum, Mater Tenebrarum, and Mater Lacrimarum, Our Ladies of Sorrow.
Yeah.
The controversy, of course, is that being an auteur, which is, I don't know if you guys know about auteur theory, that is code for director being a dick. Where, Argento, being the auteur believer in that theory he tried to take credit for a lot of things that people helped him do. And unfortunately for Dario Nicolodi, he kind of like adopted her story, which was her grandmother had attended a school, a boarding school when she was young. And apparently there was a coven of witches that were there, and the place burned down mysteriously. I have a cool story. I'll come up later. I'll talk more about Dario Nicolodi's involvement in the film. But there's another person that he talks about that is not credited, but he talked about him in his autobiography called Fear. And the other person he called him his writing buddy is Nani Balestrini.
Right.
He's a poet, revolutionary thinker, very kind of a character in his time. He was one of the co-writers on the 5 Days, the Argento historical comedy drama movie that he made, which I also still haven't seen. 5 Days in Milan. So yeah, those are the writers, and I'll talk a little bit more about the controversy there. I really want to talk about good old Luciano Tovoli, cinematographer of this bad boy. So Luigi, I'm going to butcher his name, Luigi Cuvelier, I don't know. He's the one who shot Deep Red, I think. And in talks with him about Suspiria, Luigi was like, dude, I don't think I can do this.
Right.
Maybe he wasn't interested, or maybe he just was like, I'm out. So he approached, Argento approached Luciano Tovoli, and they talked about it. And Tovoli got the gig by making some witchy footage with some different colored gels and stuff like that. And Argento, according to Tovoli, was so impressed by this footage that he actually got up and touched the screen.
Nice.
And was like, yeah, this is what I want. And he actually told him, according to Tovoli, he said, I want this but dreamier. And Tovoli said, okay, I can do that. Now, the weird thing is, now I'm sure, Simon, without getting too technical, because Tovoli goes into a lot of detail in Profondo Argento, written by Alan Jones, which I have some opinions about that book. I'll share later. But he's talking to Tovoli, and Tovoli's going like deep into the lighting and the methods and everything. And he really doubles down on this Technicolor thing.
Yeah.
This 3-strip color process. There's a great video by Vox about why the Wizard of Oz looks the way it looks, and they break down the 3-color Technicolor process. Very interesting. But yeah, he talks about it as though they use this Kodak film, but the Technicolor process. And then Argento also talks about it, but then I've heard they didn't use this Technicolor process.
I think there's been a bit of confusion about it. It's not, let's see I mean, I'm not going to take this as gospel what it says. There's a technical specs thing on IMDb. Now, it does say the lab was Technicolor in Rome, and it's my understanding that I think this was the last film where they processed in this old 3-strip fashion before they had basically shut up shop there. But the cameras, this is, as I think was typical for these Italian films, were Technovision.
Okay.
Which I think was like a cheaper version of, what do you call it? Like the sort of anamorphic widescreen, because they use I think they'd use like half the negative or something. I could be wrong. I'm not super well up on all the technical minutiae of it, but I'm pretty sure I'm right on the lab stuff versus the cameras anyway.
Because one of the things with Technicolor is you had to crank up the lights. The lights had to be maximum lighting, so insane lights. And they mentioned using that, but who knows? I'm not good with obviously, I don't know, lenses and cameras and stuff for filmmaking, but I just found it funny that, I was literally told under no uncertain terms that this was Technicolor. This was made in the old Technicolor process. This is the last film that was made with that process. And then years later, I was like, no, it wasn't. It wasn't made that way. And I'm like, I don't care anymore.
You can get
fuck all of you.
You're not careful, sort of too bogged down in these things, and it is interesting. Yeah, you want.
Yeah.
Oh right, yeah. There's actually a PDF of this. I thought I'd heard something about this. I thought it was American Cinematographer. It might not be, but I've just found a PDF where they've got Tovoli talking to somebody called David E. Williams, and the article is called Terror in Technicolor, which I'm guessing that being cinematographers is probably going to get fairly technical about it, and it goes up let me see. He's talking about all the various lenses and stuff. Design. It's just scanning here by one designed by a French astronomer or something. This is what I mean. It's probably going to sound now like we're being not half-arsed with our research or whatever, but as I said to you before recording, we could really spend like a year, because it's an intimidating film to talk about, really.
Yeah, I totally agree.
We could spend like a year researching this and trying to go into all the ins and outs, but if I haven't said already, we're partly not doing that because a lot of it's been said and is on record already. But yeah, that's there.
Sure.
To look. It's in February 2010 issue of American Cinematographer, and if you search for it, I've just found a PDF of it. It's about 10 pages long, and has some behind-the-scenes photos and stuff I've not seen before as well.
Nice. So Tovoli would go on to film Tenebrae, and he would go on to film something I'm very curious about called Fraccia versus Dracula.
Ooh.
It's a 1985 comedy horror film that looks pretty rough. Like it looks beautifully shot because Tivoli shot it, but also it looks rough as in, sometimes humor doesn't translate very well between different cultures. And of course, a movie that I think, what we should do, because we've never done a real commentary track. I think Hello, This is the Doom Show's Richard and Simon need to do a commentary track on Tivoli's real masterpiece, Dracula 3D from 2012.
Totally.
I think we should do it
for that.
We should just do an audio commentary on that. Just start the movie and just record whatever bullshit we say. That might be fun.
I've only seen it once years ago, so let's
me too.
Go for it with like no problem. So go.
I've seen it twice. I just remembered I've seen it twice.
And
the train station that looked so hideous the first time, it looks absolutely worse the second viewing. The virtual train station is one of the most, probably the absolute bottom of the barrel. This is what happened to the Italian film industry. Watch this train sequence. Brutal.
How the mighty have fallen, but we
look
forward to revisiting it. And I'm sure I do remember enjoying it, sort of for all the wrong reasons, I'm sure. But
it's got good stuff in it. I promise you, there's some cool moments in it. It's just, let's just say we're all very happy that wasn't the last film that Argento made.
Oh boy, yeah, and how?
Yeah, because Dark Glasses is it's like a different person made it. It's so much better than than Dracula 3D.
You wonder what happened. There's some theories about, I don't know. I think that's after he'd done that Gaspar Noé film that he'd acted in. I've not seen yet. Curiosity Vortex.
Yeah.
He did say that gave him a new appreciation for working with actors. So maybe that was a bit of a shot in the arm for him in some ways doing that. I don't know.
And I think he collaborated with people more on Dark Glasses as well, as far as the writer. His writing partner, I think, made that movie more of a return to, helped him make it more of a return to form. But enough about that.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
I want to talk about a secret person here who's a wonderful, wonderful human being. Well, actually, I don't know. Maybe he's a dick. I don't know. Giuseppe Bassan. He's the production designer on this movie. And I've been trying not to, never mention production designers. It's one of those sad, underappreciated roles that I am guilty of not thinking about until very recently. But he worked on Deep Red. He worked on The 5 Days. Satanic from 1968, which is very fun. Production designer on Cannibal Ferox.
Oh, wow.
Oh boy. and Tenebrae as well. So yeah, he was a very important person who helped make this movie look the way it looks.
Scene as well, because it says, where they do this, don't they, where depending on the class as a production designer or a art director, but it's disappeared now. Oh, and art director on Inferno. Different.
Ooh, yeah.
That makes total sense, of course.
Too cool. But yeah, I love it. And of course, the big part of this movie is Goblin, the band, which I love. Goblin, they're so wonderful.
Oh, same.
Let's talk about
about
them.
I was doing a bit of another deep dive into listening to their stuff again recently, and I did think to myself, it's like, if I had to pick a favorite band, would I pick Goblin in some ways? I really don't.
Sure.
Especially talking in that, with actual, not getting into like well, I know they do dip into electronica and all of that, but you know what I mean, more traditional instruments. Although, as I'm sure you'll get into, there's some quite non-traditional or unusual ones used in this.
Exactly. So it's Claudio Simonetti, Massimo Morante, Fabio Pignatelli, and Agostino Marangolo. That's the members of Goblin at this time. Funny story about them is that they'd broken up. Dario Nicolodi says she turned Dario on to their music for Deep Red, and he heard them and was like, whoa, you guys are going to come in. And, he was unhappy with Gaslini, the composer, Giorgio Gaslini, I think. He was unhappy with his music for Deep Red, and so he was going to have them perform the music that he'd written.
Yeah.
And after some takes, he's like, nah, fuck it. Do whatever you want.
Yeah.
For this thriller, for this giallo. And they were like, okay. So they just did whatever they wanted and just did their crazy, Emerson, Lake and Palmer style freakouts and all kinds of wild progressive rock tangents and whatnot. And Argento loved it. And then they broke up because they were kind of like, meh, let's just break up. We're done. And then Deep Red was a huge hit. And the record of the soundtrack was such a huge hit that they basically were like, whoa, we better get back together.
Yeah. Wow, I didn't
So
realize they'd broken up that early, because I know they've had a bit of
Yeah.
a tumultuous history.
They were originally called Cherry 5. I think their original name was Cherry 5. And I don't know if the lineup was the same, but they'd done a record that's actually really fun. And then they changed their name to Goblin. The details around that are very long and not that interesting, how they got the name Goblin.
Yeah.
But then they reunited and started touring, and they did a record called Roller, which is really good. Superb progressive rock. Funk. There's a lot of funk on that record, too.
Definitely.
If I recall correctly. When Argento offered them this, they're like, all right, we have they had a distinctive idea of what they wanted to do to make creepy music for the movie. And they did that and made a bunch of demos, and only one of the demos was really like what Argento wanted. And that was what was used to creep everybody out on set. Because that was one of the things that they had this piece of music that Goblin had made, and they would play to get the actors in the mood to be scared. That did not end up on the record. On the soundtrack. That piece of music got reworked. I can't find anything more other than they say it's not the same.
Right.
What ended up in the soundtrack is different than this piece.
So it's,
I'm dying to hear it.
To sell there's a bit of a mystery about it, what it's about, but it's not, because there are. I was sharing it with you recently, wasn't there? There's a few tracks on the record that are obviously not in the actual film itself.
Yeah. So as far as trivia goes, folks, buckle up. I've got probably too much. Simon, I'm sorry. This is going to be crazy.
No, go for it.
As mentioned before, I reread the Suspiria parts of Alan Jones's Profondo Argento, and I just want to say Alan Jones is fine. I don't dislike him on commentary tracks. I don't like his attitude in this book. He's a man on the scene. I cannot question that. He does, in the 80s, he did set visits. He was like the British guy who was going to come visit the set, write a hype piece, and tell people in England what Argento is up to for magazines and stuff. And then you read these interviews and set visits, and then next to that in the book is the review of the movie. And I will give him credit. He does not shy away from being critical at all.
Yeah.
He will straight up say something like, Trauma just sucks. And he'll point out why it sucks intelligently. He's not just an asshole. It's just like one of those things where I just so deeply disagree with his opinions on these things.
Yeah.
I do take issue with him being a little too honest. Like, he talks about interviewing Dario Nicolodi in the 90s. God damn my voice.
You okay?
Excuse me. I had too much of that frickin' Suspiria wine coat in my throat. He interviewed Dario Nicolodi in the 90s, and he couldn't help but point out how she'd lost her looks. I'm like, dude, shut your fucking mouth. Like, no offense, but don't.
It can be...
Just say something vague, like the glory days are behind you. He was like really specific about why she looked the way she looked. And I'm like, no, dude, stop. Shush. All I know is I wouldn't have written that down.
Well, yeah, just, if you can't say anything nice, ...
Right. So another source I used is Dario Argento himself for his autobiography called Fear, which is pretty good. Again, it drives me freaking nuts because it doesn't have nearly enough about his later career. He doesn't go into detail. He's old.
Yeah.
He's 6,000 years old now. And it's like one of those things where it's like, could you just talk about opera some more? Could you just talk about phenomena some more? And maybe it's because there's so many making of things that have happened that he doesn't feel necessary, or he's not interested in that because, or I don't know. Who knows? But he doesn't go into detail on any of that shit. So that the book loses me a little, but I do recommend it. Cool. And last but not least, the Bible of Hello, This is the Doom Show, whether we like it or not, Spaghetti Nightmares by Luca M. Palmarini and Gaetano Mistretta. This is the book with all those interviews, which are great, especially since people were pretty catty, Umberto Lenzi, and being a little shitty in the book. I love it. But the only thing about that book, folks, if you can find a copy of it on archive or even find a paper copy of it, God help you there. Skip the reviews in the back until you've seen the film, because every single giallo is spoiled in the back. I don't know what they were thinking, revealing the killer's identities and shit in the back of the book. This is ridiculous. But anyway, we'll start with that one. The interview with Stefania Cassini is very sweet. I love it. She was so enamored with Argento. She loved working with him. According to her controversy, Dario Nicolodi was going to play Sarah. She was going to play Susie, but the producers said to Argento, no, you need an American star to get the American market. And he told Dario, sorry, no, you can play Sarah, the best friend. And Cassini, Stefania, she says that Dario Nicolodi injured her ankle during a dance sequence and that she was a last-minute replacement. This is a complete bullshit. Especially according to Dario Nicolodi, that's complete bullshit. She was so offended that Argento wouldn't let her play Susie that was it.
Yeah.
That was a big problem in their relationship. One of the first big blowouts they had, of many apparently. But I do want to look this up, Simon, because I don't mean to be ageist.
Okay.
Not trying to be ageist at all here. But how old? Because, the thing about Jessica Harper is that she looks young.
Yeah.
In the movie. But I'll do a little math here.
I think she was in a mid to late 20s. I want to say about 27, 28, maybe 27.
Yeah. So yeah, it looks like 28. Oh my God, they're the same age. Ooh, Argento, you fucked up, homie. Oh man. So yeah, they broke up. They broke up for like a year while he was making. After they wrote Suspiria and the pre-production phase, she left him for like a year while he was making Suspiria, because that's how pissed off she was. Okay, so I was gonna say maybe the age. I was wrong. I was wrong. I love it. So Cassini, she had to train with a dancing coach because she hadn't danced like any ballet since she was a little kid, and she said it was fine, but she said thankfully didn't have to do much dancing on the movie. She loved working with Argento, as I said. She said the maggots were the worst part. The maggot scene was absolutely worse. She has visceral memories of the crunching maggots under their feet. When they brought in the maggots, vats of maggots that were very disgusting and stinky. Then she fell through the glass in her death scene, and she basically was saying she didn't know that was going to happen, or she didn't understand. And so when she crashes through that glass, she was truly terrified. That is real terror, because she thought she was really going to get hurt, even though it was, safety glass or whatever. Now, here's the funny story. The wire room, she said, was horrible. Shooting that scene sucked. But Argento said that she didn't know she was going to jump down into the wire, and that she was a really good sport and just did the scene the way she was supposed to. And I'm like, no, that doesn't make any sense, that she wouldn't know that she was going to jump into that wire. That don't make no sense. And she said the scariest part of all this was running around blindly with a knife with the prosthetics on her eyes.
Oh God, yeah. So I wondered about
she was so scared.
It's like some insane contact lens, like appliances or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, she thought she was going to fall on the knife. Poor thing. Last from her, she stayed friends with Jessica Harper through the years. She said Alida Valli is awesome and a very kind, motherly character. And then we have Dario Nicolodi. She says she doubles down and she never wanted to play Sarah. She was the one who suggested, according to her, she's the one who suggested to Argento to look into the fantasy genre for inspiration when he was sick of making giallo movies. She talks about the tale of her grandmother, the story of her grandmother, and that she was horrified to hear Argento through the years say that was his grandmother who experienced that. She never forgave him for doing that, and I wouldn't, because it's just stupid.
I think
you know what I mean?
I heard one source, I don't know whether it was correct or not, of him even saying that she sort of fabricated the story, but depending what day that you, especially Argento, because Dario Nicolodi sounds a bit more straight up, where Argento, I'm sure he said different things depending on the day of the week.
Yeah. He does credit her for a lot in his autobiography, in his defense. Good. But, he was he's a character, so who knows? Especially in the 80s when he was a little full of himself, bless his heart. The leather jacket. Come on. They visited this is crazy. So they visited while they're touring Europe, talking to real and fake witches, talking to all kinds of people who had seen or knew stories about witches, and just really fascinating. Their research, like, that's a road trip I'm very curious about. They went to the actual academy that her grandmother said was run by a coven, and it had burned down mysteriously, but had been rebuilt as a new school, like a concrete, like blah, like probably some hideous, brutalist 1970s architecture or whatever. And while they were there, they were trying to get into the school to like look around, and they were refused access. And as they were leaving, a woman called Daria by her name. She'd never seen this woman before in her life. She described her as a tall woman with a cane that had what looked like a doorknob as the head, we call it the end of the staff or whatever. I don't know what you call those on a cane, but it looked like kind of like a silver doorknob.
Yeah. And
she fucking asked her about her grandmother. Like, hey, I remember your grandmother. And they were both freaked out by this, and we're like, bye.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
That's the story she tells, and I love it.
I mean, I
love it.
Yeah.
True or not?
Well, yeah. I mean, whether it's the whole thing, isn't the sort of print the legend and all of that, don't. But the one thing I did hear her say about this whole thing I think it's on the old Anchor Bay DVD documentary, was that she wouldn't name the school explicitly because it might still be dangerous. I can. Yeah, why not? I can believe it. This.
Well.
Crazy.
Same interview. She talks about knowing who the monster of Florence is.
Oh my word.
And that she was going to make a movie about it.
Yeah.
Based on her theories of who it was. And they started, her and her writing partner, a friend of hers, they started getting threatening phone calls. So yeah, Daria Nicolodi, man, she's her belief in the occult, the occult. She was very much in tune with the spiritual world. That's something that, Dario was like, I didn't know shit about magic.
And
until I met her.
Yeah, it was, I mean, this is really like in so many ways, isn't it? Just like kind of a game changer for him. And well, for all of us really, but in terms of her influence and how it started this sort of, I mean, you always had the sort of almost like kind of call it, for want of a better word, feminist sort of aspects to his films. Like you get a lot of it in, I suppose, appropriately enough, given assumingly her influence again in Deep Red, but definitely more so from this. And then you see the female characters in his films from here onwards. But he doesn't mince his words about the occult stuff either, of saying, this is no laughing matter. This stuff's real. He's pretty unambiguous about it.
Yep. Continuing on to my other source, the Alan Jones book here. So yes, he talks about how Deep Red was a huge hit, and inside and outside of Italy is, much like Bird with the Crystal Plumage, it had a big crossover effect. So, Argento's father and his brother, who were both producers on this film, kind of were like, all right, dude, we kind of have a blank check here. Let's do it. Of course, Argento did push it to the limit with this whatever special process that the film was processed in. I couldn't think of another word than process there. The film process. He's like, yeah, but never make another movie with that again because you'll bankrupt us. Like, don't do that again. He did want the film to be about younger girls. I told you about the producer saying that's expensive, don't do it. So the door handles were raised higher, and there's a lot of like little tricks they do to make these girls seem younger, like being really silly and goofy characters. We talked about Confessions of an Opium Eater and the sequel novel. Snow White was a huge influence on this. Argento's going to talk about that in a little bit. He loves Snow White and the Seven Dwarves. That was one of the big movies he saw as a kid. The film itself was shot for 16 weeks in Munich and West Bavaria, and of course some Italian studio stuff. This is all during the summer and fall of 1976. So they wrapped up in July, the end of July, right before my birthday. Thanks, guys. I was an August baby. Argento talks about Udo Kier. He was only on set for one day. It was his day off. He was working with Fassbinder. And ooh boy, when Fassbinder found out that he used his day off to go work with another director, he was fucking pissed. and gave him shit about it. But of course, that's Fassbinder. He's a very interesting character. Udo Kier did not speak. He spoke very little to no English at the time. There was a man sitting off camera saying the English dialogue one sentence at a time, and Udo Kier would repeat it as best he could. He had no idea what he was saying. 20th Century Fox didn't want to release Suspiria because they thought it was going to be a big flop and an embarrassment to their company, so they defaulted to their International Classics label, which that was like their dumping ground. More from Alan Jones here. Jessica Harper said the airport scene was very unpleasant because they had to film so much in the rain and she had to get so soaked. They actually had what she calls plastic undergarments under her clothes. I'm guessing like a wetsuit to keep her from getting pneumonia. She probably was lucky, very lucky. She said spending 11 hours with maggots in her hair was not great. Argento was very good with her, very respectful. He was just a whirlwind, like everybody says. He was just a master of directing. Somebody, I forget who, my brain was mush at this point. Somebody talked about Argento not comfortable with the writing process. The writing process is agony to him. He's not confident. His real mastery is in directing. So, he's just driven. Jessica Harper loved working with Joan Bennett. She couldn't believe it. It was like a dream. Joan Bennett just kept to herself, but was just the epitome of classy old Hollywood. I have a little bit more about her in a moment. That's it from Alan Jones. Last but not least, of course, Dario Argento, in his own words, from Fear. When they went on their road trip, they were traveling between the border areas of Switzerland, Germany, and France, while they're collecting their testimonies of presumed witches and necromancers.
It's this like magic triangle that I hear them mention, I think, where they sort of the countries intersect.
And they wanted to read works of proclaimed alchemists too. So they read a lot of old texts and stuff like that. Maybe where they got a lot of the words and the phrases that are all over the walls and the witches' inner circle, their inner sanctum there. The three witches, the three matters, those three ladies of the sorrow, that they have their homes in the city of Freiburg, New York, and Rome. So there's your three films, the three settings of the three films right there. It's said that they influenced the destiny of humanity in perverse ways. So Dario said, this is the quote from the book, "I was chasing the idea of a Gothic nightmare that paid homage to the visual power of German expressionism."
Yeah. I mean, that bit I've neglected to mention in the scene where they've done the hall up with all the bed sheets and it's kind of hellish red, where we see Helena and Marcus come in. That could almost be something out of like Nosferatu or something.
Yeah. Good call. Yeah, Nosferatu, Cabinet of the Caligari, of the Cabinet of Dr. Fuck me in my eyes. The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. He wanted someone like Jane Russell to play Madame Blanc, but Jane Russell, she was kind of past it, wasn't really ready to get back in front of the camera. They discovered that Joan Bennett was available. He was very excited to have her, this classic noir lady. Joan Bennett straight up told him, according to Argento, she straight up told him, "Hey, I have a drinking problem. Is that going to be a problem?
All right.
I like a little tipple." So it's fine. He tried to grill her at their first meeting about her scandalous past. So her lover was nearly murdered by her husband when he discovered them together, but the guy survived. It was this huge scandal at the time.
I forgot about that.
And yeah, wasn't she involved with somebody in Expressionism? Wasn't she married to
Fritz Lang?
Yeah. All that shit was crazy.
And this is weird because, sorry,
his muse or something.
I'd forgotten about all this. I'm sure that somebody, possibly Alida Valley, had some similar stuff happen.
Really?
Could be wrong. Yeah. Aha. Yeah. Right. So, sorry, this is from Wikipedia. So Valli says she married Italian film director Giancarlo Zagni in the early 60s, divorcing in 1970. There's a movie career suffered in 1953 from a scandal surrounding the death of Wilma Montesi, whose body was found on a public beach near Ostia. Prolonged investigations resulted involving allegations of drug and sex orgies in Roman society. Among the accused, all of whom were acquitted, leaving the case unsolved, was Valli's lover, jazz musician Pier Piccioni, son of the Italian Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Oh, Jesus.
And this is cited from the Times record of March 1954.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Thank you for catching that. I would have missed that.
Oh, no worries.
So, yeah. Those Hollywood elite, man. Little bit of fun trivia, sad but fun trivia. Helena Marcos, the lady who they picked to play her, she was a 94-year-old woman they found in a hospice outside of Rome. So she was this like very fragile old woman. And apparently she was very charming, and she had no idea how movies were made. And so she had tons of questions about the cameras and the lighting, and she was just so confused, but like in a good way. Mm-hmm. And then she was telling everybody her life story. He said she charmed everyone. Jessica Harper said she was an old hooker. That part of her stories was that she was an old sex worker. That's so cute. Sex work is work, y'all. Even 90 friggin' years ago.
Yeah, when you're like 90 something, you just don't give a fuck anymore, do you? Just like,
dude, why would you?
All the beans.
But yeah, so funny. And then you think about that poor lady having all that makeup on. It's like, oh.
Yeah.
Speaking of Goblin and the weird instruments that they used, so a bouzouki, Bouzouki, is a type of weird guitar-shaped object that Argento owned one. He said that he loved its gloomy sound. And he gave that to Goblin and said, hey, work this into the soundtrack because this is important. And so they did. So that strange, jangly, like nightmare guitar sound you hear a lot of times is a bouzouki.
Yeah, love it.
It did not shoot grenades out of it or missiles. Sorry. Okay, last bit from Argento. A lot of bad luck surrounding the production. They said somebody on the production hinted that maybe it was a cursed production because they were trying to do something about witches. Some unexplained incidents, cameras jamming. Argento and somebody else, I forget who, were narrowly blown up. They just missed being blown up by a Red Army bomb attack. They were cruising around Munich and went to at a cafe or something like that, and then they saw a bunch of cool cars for sale in a car dealership across the street. They went across the street to check out the cars. Boom! Huge explosion as the Red Army planted a bomb and nearly killed them. So they narrowly missed being blown up, which unfortunately, as folks who know about the history of the Halloween franchise, Mustafa Akkad was not so lucky and was actually killed in a bomb attack in Israel.
I
believe it was in Israel.
I don't think I actually knew that. That's crazy.
Maybe he was in Jordan. I forget. He was somewhere in the Middle East and got gotten. It was very, very sad. He and his daughter. Yeah, very scary. Ooh, that's it for my trivia, man. Ooh. I have a couple of other little things, but I'm really glad that's all my trivia.
Wow. Yeah, no, certainly.
Thank you for indulging me, ladies and gentlemen.
No, not at all. Yeah, no, it's all we're all learning here. It's there's just so much to know about all of this. As I said to you before, because a lot of it's been heard before. The exterior of the Dance Academy. This was a place in Freiburg called the Haus zum Walfisch. Apologies to Martin Luther Presley if you're listening to all this mispronunciation.
Esserstrasse?
Exactly, yeah. The Whale House, a landmark late Gothic building where they reconstructed the facade of it on a studio lot in Rome, which is just amazing.
Oh, nice.
And I looked into this person who we see this quite prominently quite a number of times, including over the end credits. Was it Erasmus of Rotterdam, who is said to have stayed there, who was a Dutch Christian humanist, Catholic priest and theologian, and lots of other things. And to quote Garth Marenghi, probably plus actor as well, who was prolific, to say the least, in one of these like hugely influential Renaissance. But I just looked up a few quotes from him, and there's just so much to go at. But I think he's one of the people, I don't know whether he originated it, that said, in the country of the blind, the one-eyed man is king, among many other things.
Ooh, nice. I love that. One thing I didn't point out, when Susie is approaching the school during the daytime, the rising sun is coming up there, and the shadow from the big facade of the front looks like a face.
Oh.
Yeah, it looks like a face, but like wearing a top hat. So, nice. That famous folklore of witches wearing top hats. I know you've heard of that.
It says, and I will be quite honest, a lot of my trivia is off IMDb and is always taken with a pinch of salt. It says here, Dario was so low after completing the film he contemplated suicide. Yeah, yes. Which you alluded to him he maybe between the Centenary or whatever, sort of going off the rails a bit.
Yeah, there's a point where he was very depressed and was talking to it about a friend, and his friend told him, well, if, move your dresser or your armoire or what have you in front of the window, because Argento talked about throwing himself out the window.
Oh yeah.
And he said move your dresser in front of the window, because most suicides, it's a very impulsive act, and if you give yourself this challenge, your lowest moment, you might not go through with it. And sure enough, Argento said that actually saved his life.
Sure.
And he talks about it very openly. He was extremely depressed, and nothing was worth going on for.
I mean,
it's very sad.
We know obviously they had the relationship trouble with Dario, but I wonder as well, just after making this film, which obviously was hugely ambitious, but they had a bit of kind of imposter syndrome sort of kicked in, where he was suffering doubts about it.
Because he had hit after hit after hit. I mean, the only the two hiccups in his career was he was not happy with Cat o' Nine Tails at all.
Yeah.
Which I find very sad, because that's one of my favorites.
Yeah, same.
And 5 Days in Milan was that was not well received, and he put everything into that. And that was just like a blow to him. Like, he felt like he couldn't get out of genre work. At least that's my interpretation. So yeah, I think luckily some things happened to kind of keep him grounded, but then I think the back-to-back hits of Deep Red and Suspiria made him a little wild.
Well, yeah, he'd been on a bit of a roller coaster about it, so no, that would make sense totally.
Sure.
One bit I really like here is talking about Jessica Harper, and I'd seen she was in a few Woody Allen films. She said she's in. I do remember watching this when I wrote my undergraduate dissertation on spoof and parody films. So I watched a lot of these Woody Allen and Mel Brooks films of that period as part of the research. This is going back years now. I didn't remember her being in Love and Death, but she was in a few Woody Allen films. But apparently, no harm to Woody Allen, but just mad props to Jessica Harper for apparently turning down a part in Annie Hall to be in this.
Dude, yeah, she turned down Annie Hall to be in Suspiria. It's fucking badass.
Yeah, totally.
But it's one of those things where, Woody Allen, they didn't realize at the time that was going to be his his critical and commercial success. I think that, and now the famous film that it is.
I mean, she couldn't go wrong either way there, really.
Well, the farther you get away from Woody Allen, the better. That's all I'm going to say on that topic.
Fair enough. Oh, one last casting tidbit was says apparently Tina Romont was offered the lead role, but couldn't extend
no shit.
Her. And I can see that again with she has. Dario talks about Jessica Harper and having very big, almost like manga character eyes, and Tina Romont kind of similar.
Same,
yeah.
Dude, let me tell you, Tina Romont would have been fucking perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I love her. Yeah, she's great.
Absolutely.
Dude, she could have been Olga in a heartbeat. They would have made the movie about Olga like they should have in the first place.
Indeed.
That's hilarious. The only little bit of tiny bit of trivia I have here is the different titles this movie got in foreign territories.
Oh, that's the last bit of my trivia. Actually, is the Swede one.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't want to steal your fire.
Yeah, it's the only one I've got here. It says Flygten från Helvetet, Escape from Hell.
Yes. So in Sweden, it was called Escape from Hell. In Greece, it was called In the Clutches of Evil. In Vietnam, it was called Dance of Death. But my all-time favorite here, in Mandarin, it was called Because the Wind is Real.
What?
Which is actually background trivia. One of the things I forgot to mention, a lot of the cast and crew members had to eat a lot of sauerkraut because they were in Munich for so long. And let me tell you, when you eat a lot of sauerkraut, the wind is real. Throw the chicken in the toilet, and eat a lot of sauerkraut, so you fart through the whole movie, and they have to dub everybody later.
Well, it's a good thing they did post dub in that case, isn't it? By the sound of it.
Oh my God, Simon! So, tell me about how you feel about this movie.
Oh man, I mean, some days of the week it's impossible to pick a favorite horror film or a favorite film, but some days of the week this is it. There is another one that's close up there. Funnily enough, I'm wearing my I've got a Shining t-shirt which my good friend Paul kindly got me. That's another one. A lot of the time it depends which one I've watched last, and I think I've talked about, I think even on the first episode where you sort of interviewed me about favorite films, I said, I think even back then, this is going back to Q Dinosaurs Roaring about 8 years ago now. When I said I've come kind of full circle from Suspiria to some days of the week. I know we've not really talked about Inferno, but so I don't want to get into it too much here. There was a time when that was my favourite more, and in some ways, because that leans, it's kind of more serious and esoteric, I guess, and there's bits in that which there's some days of the week I prefer that, but I think really and then there was Phenomena. There was a time that was my favourite.
Same.
But I've kind of come back round to Suspiria again because it was such a formative film for me, and I've got so much joy from it in various ways, including all the countless memes and stuff it's inspired me to do, and fun we've had on Facebook with it. So I think really, if I have to sorry, I'm losing it now. So I should say, a peek behind the blue velvet curtain here, people. We have been recording over 2 hours now. I think Suspiria is where the one that my heart is kind of most with, really, if pushed. But to say if it's a favourite horror film of all time or film of all time, it depends on the day of the week. But my God, it's really up there. So yeah, I absolutely adore it, just from end to end, really.
Beautiful. Yeah, I absolutely adore this film too. I really got into horror movies around end of 2002, beginning of 2003. I mean, I was a horror kid, but I'd let horror slide through the 90s and not kept up with anything. And then when Leanne and I were dating, I just really got into horror movies again, started to use my resources at my fingertips, library and video stores and the burgeoning DVD market, to start to get into these things. And Suspiria I saw after, I saw Phenomena as a kid, and I saw Trauma as a kid, and then I saw the Stendhal Syndrome, which is hilarious to see that before Suspiria. That makes me laugh. And then finally I just discovered Anchor Bay DVD, and my first viewing of Suspiria was pretty much as close to perfect as you can get it in those days. Watching that old Anchor Bay disc and just absolutely blown my mind. I mean, I saw it after The Beyond, and I saw it after House by the Cemetery. These things were happening. I think my diving into Italian horror was all within a freaking 6-month period where I saw most of the classics, and just what a time. Very nostalgic for those early days. Lietta's cool too. But I think about how this is nothing I think about how there's nothing quite like Suspiria. I don't think these films influence Suspiria. I just think that they're interesting to think about in terms of how did we get here? How did we get such a unique thing? This is totally unrelated, but the same year we had Houseu from Obayashi, and that just that is the Japanese comparison to this, just so over the top and insane.
I think I told you, didn't I? Sorry to interrupt, but my friend Sebastian, we had a double feature of, I don't think you've seen either of those two, which is just man, that was. And there's on the other end of the spectrum in terms of colour, Eraserhead's the same year as well. So 1977, man, I tell you.
Let's go for it. Yeah, a lot of crazy time. Two films that I think of when I try to think of what would audiences have been maybe exposed to beforehand. And two films jump to mind. One of them is, I know, a favorite of yours. The first one is Messiah of Evil.
Oh boy, yeah, absolutely.
Was a few years before this, just in terms of unique tone and absolutely slam dunk set design and lighting.
Oh my God, yeah.
And then Lamora, A Child's Tale of the Supernatural.
Yes, another absolute favorite.
I feel like That seems like maybe Dario Nicolodi saw that, you know.
It's possible. I mean, that one I've always said, for me, one of the reasons I love it is an American indie film that, and Messiah of Evil as well. They both, to me, have the Euro horror vibe to them.
Yeah.
Some of the lighting and that, my word, that film is the DVD still looks beautiful, but my God, that's crying out for a better release. But this, like the color gels and stuff in that feels very sort of proto Suspiria or what have you.
Totally. And like you've hinted at we could spend hours and hours and hours, even more hours than what we've spent on this movie. Mm-hmm. We could spend like hours just dissecting the frickin' airport sequence. Like it's crazy. But like that's letting you know that this is going to be garish, beyond garish, intricate, overwhelming. There's like all the words I just started jotting down as I was watching this. I love how this is dripping with dread. Like it has that "you are fucked" quality that a lot of great supernatural movies have, where it's like, oh, I pricked myself on this tennis racket in the Perfume of the Lady in Black, and it's like, oh, lady, just fucking lay down in your grave. You're fucking done. When talking about the pillars of Italian horror, like what are the greatest Italian horrors of all time? You know, you've got Demons, and you've got The Beyond, and you've got Suspiria, and you've got Black Sunday. Troll 2. What? Don't fucking laugh. Don't fucking laugh at that. No, I just wanted to throw that in there. But I mean, Simon, I got to thank you, man, for going the distance. Folks, for years we've been trying to get the show shorter for our sanity's sake. And just before we start, I told Simon, fuck it. I don't care. I literally don't care if we go too long. And of course, I would be remiss if we didn't talk about the hilarity of Suspiria is a giallo. I'm saying it again. Suspiria is a giallo. So obviously, I know that Suspiria isn't a giallo. The funny, because of the supernatural qualities, although there are supernatural gialli. I'm sorry. Anyway, but Suspiria is a giallo until it isn't, as some very wise person once said, that yes, the supernatural reveal takes away the murder mystery angle. But what Simon and I have been dealing with in these fucking Facebook groups and these other groups, Discord, maybe, is this whole bullshit of like shaming newbies for saying Suspiria is a giallo. Like they read a little article that someone wrote that mislabels it as a giallo, and they go, hey guys, I found your group because I saw Suspiria. What's another giallo? Now, you could say, hey, it's not a giallo, dude. Let me explain why. But you probably sound like a dick because, there's no text and there's no context in text when you're reading it. But there's people that shame these people like they're idiots. And it's like, no, they're not fucking idiots. It's confusing as shit. Yeah. So Simon has been doing the Lord's work, and by the Lord, I mean the Dark Lord, by making my favorite memes of all time, making fun of Suspiria being a giallo. Let's give you an example. The Full Metal Jacket one.
That is
Suspiria is a giallo. Who the fuck said that?
That's the one that's had the longest legs, as it were. Because you told me that somebody had, and this is the mark of a successful meme, when somebody shares it without credit on another platform, and then somebody else tells you about it, which happened.
Somebody you don't know is sharing it,
and it still pops up in, yeah, exactly, and it still pops up from time to time. And I'll post one, and somebody will post it in the comments. And my go-to response now is always one of my finest moments or mements, whatever. And they're like, "Oh, you did that, did I?" See, yeah.
Dude, the other one that I love, absolutely love, is Susie, do you know anything about giallo? Which, another meme you made that's not a Suspiria is a giallo one, but I always laugh when I think about it, is when the witches are dying.
Oh, yeah.
And Tanner and Madame Blanc are holding their throats and the wind is blowing. It's like, you're trying to kill that bitch of an American girl, but then the bass drops.
I have to
fucking magical.
Thank you. I have to thank the person who did the one that inspired that was the Poltergeist one, where it's the Tangina, when you're trying to save Carol Ann and then the bass drops. That's what inspired that.
Oh my god, I fucking love it. It's so good. But yeah, dude. So folks, don't take it so seriously. Yeah. Good Lord. And if you want to be welcoming in a community, don't fucking shame people for just an honest question. Jesus.
Yeah, exactly, man.
But the listeners of Hello, This is the Doom Show, you guys are all cool. Yeah, and you wouldn't do that. I know that.
Absolutely.
But Simon, or let's get out of here. Let's go frickin' throw some chicken in the toilet, shall we?
It's how that you said that's my back teeth are actually floating.
Oh, yeah, you pour your soup down the toilet all the time. I know. Folks, thank you so much for listening. And thank you to Simon for being a hero and bringing all his Suspiria goodnesses.
Oh, no, right back at you, sir. Thank you.
Bye, folks.
Good night.
Folks, thanks so much for listening to this episode. If you'd like to write into the show, send an email to doomedmoviethon@gmail.com or hit us up at doomedmoviethon on Instagram or at doomedmoviethon on Twitter or at doomedmoviethon at Discord, or go to Hello This Is the Doomed Show on Facebook and message us there. If you want more Hello This Is the Doomed Show, go to doomedmoviethon.com and click the podcast button for the archive, or go to YouTube and look up Doomed Moviethon and you'll find the classic episodes of Hello, This Is the Doomed Show. And if that's still not enough, I have written some books, about my love of movies over on Amazon.com. Just look up Richard Glenn Schmidt and you'll find Giallo Meltdown, a Moviethon Diary, Giallo Meltdown 2, Cinema Somnambulist, or Doomed Moviethon, the book. Hello, This Is the Doomed Show is a proud member of the Legion Podcast Network. Go to legionpodcast.com and check out the other great shows over there.